dive right into it.
Okay, so first and foremost, you'll see here, this is our top recommendations. Now, each specific scenario could be slightly different no matter or depending on where you're located, if it's available. But overall, I thought these 5 were kind of what I wanted to talk about the most.
Yeah.
Now, by saying these are our top recommendations, I do not recommend that you offer all 5 constantly, because most important with any of these products is pick one that you believe in, that you trust, and that you feel comfortable offering to your clients. You might already have a really great relationship with Aetna, which is one that's on here, but you've never wrote that product. I would rather you start there versus let's trying a Mutual of Omaha or Bankers and learn it from scratch. Like if you've already got the relationship, know the portal, know kind of processes, stick with what you know.
Yeah.
The products are very similar. We'll kind of gonna go through all that stuff there. There's not a ton of differences. However, there's little niches that make them more important that might stick out more to you or to your clientele. So I also wanted to say, I've got 5 on here. There's at least 2 or 3 others that I could think of that I would like to group in, but we'd be here for 3 hours.
Right.
So I'll quickly highlight some honorable mentions. Allstate and the National General product is a very great product for under 65. They do have some stuff in the works to get some stuff for everyone. So that'd be more of a stay tuned one. Unless you're working in the under 65 market, they just cut it off whenever you turn 65 for a obtain age. And then Medico would be another one that's great, really good for their insurance or their HIP with a cancer rider. I'll kind of talk about that process a little bit later as well, but definitely like their product too, and didn't want to go on without mentioning those companies because, like I said, if you've got them, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But these are kind of the top 5 that separate themselves a little bit different. We'll kind of go over why. So we're gonna go over Bankers, Mutual, Aetna, GTL, and Cigna today.
Awesome.
Okay, so first and foremost is going to be Bankers Fidelity. Why I like Bankers Fidelity, they have kind of recently revamped this product to make it a little bit more competitive with everything else in the marketplace. So this is kind of the general format we're going to go through on each of these different carriers. So again, love questions, throw them at me while we're going through this, because this will be very technical and we'll kind of go through the same motions every slide here.
We will say the only thing that we probably won't chat about on here is like commissions and stuff like that, just because that can be so personal, and that's a conversation we want to have more one-on-one rather than speaking about it broadly. So if you have questions about commissions and payouts and all that sort of stuff as far as you go, please call us afterwards and we'd love to talk to you about it. We just won't talk about it today.
Great call. Okay, so Bankers. The main reason I like them is this large issue age. 18 to 99 is about as open as it gets. So no matter if you're working with multiple product lines, you're able to offer Bankers Fidelity. This is kind of a very standard thing to be a top recommendation. I want it to be a lump sum payout. One, I know we've talked about this in the past, but so much easier for the clients to understand. I pay X dollars, where if I get a diagnosis, I get this much money back. Where the paper service kind of gets into a lot more of the back and forth. You don't know, could get a lot more, you might pay more. Lump sum is just so much easier. And I want people to offer cancer insurance, so I want it to be easy. Lump sum's great for that. The benefit amounts go fairly high. I think that's wrong here. That's my bad. I didn't check that part, but it's 5,000 to 75,000. So it goes a lot higher. So 75,000 is what we're looking at there. So we'll play around with that.
We'll fix it real quick, but
in case anybody's taking screenshots, redo your screenshot here in a second. That's my bad, Sadie. So 5,000 to 75,000. I will say, I would love to see a $75,000 policy written, but I could probably tell you that majority of people are taking somewhere between 10 and 30K.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of your average range, but we do like the option that you can go super high end with this product.
Right.
And increments of 1,000, so very customizable. I hate answering the question of how much should I offer my client, because I don't want to tell you how much to offer them. I want you to work with the client's budget and make it work. 10,000 is a usually good starting point that I say, because the average drug cost that a cancer diagnosis would come along with is right around $10,000.
Yeah.
But that's just talking about medical costs. We're not even touching the non-medical.
Yeah.
So 10K is like it's better than nothing. Even if it's the 5K, some of these go lower. That's better than nothing. So play around with their budget, make it work for them.
Yeah.
Because having something is better than saying, nah, I can't afford the $75,000 benefit. Like, yeah, no, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like you said, whenever it comes to choosing like these benefit amounts, especially whenever you're working. Oh, by the way, the slide's fixed, so if you want to take a screenshot, go for it now.
Screenshot.
Yes. But whenever you're trying to figure out, well, how much should we have on here? Obviously, budget is going to play in mind, but keep in mind if you're working with someone that, client A has a history of cancer and or is just really nervous about it, you might go a little bit higher with that versus asking someone and talking to them or them saying, I want to have this just to be safe, but I don't have a history of it. I seem to be pretty healthy, stuff like that. You can go on the lower side. So even being able to like customize and having such a wide range to be able to customize with people down to the amount increments of 1,000 can be huge for someone and takes a little bit deeper dive, but you have the flexibility with this product.
And again, that's kind of why I like getting the products you like and not offering everything under the sun. So you don't have to figure out what those different increment levels are.
Yeah.
You know how to play around with it if Bankers is your choice. Another really cool feature that this is just another benefit of the plan is they offer different coverages on carcinoma in situ. Might be saying, Clayton, what's carcinoma in situ? Carcinoma in situ is essentially what is referred to in some worlds as stage 0. So this is something that's caught usually very early, and it's like a tiny little cell that's a cancerous cell, and typically can be removed with a quick surgery. Without getting super medical on this one, basically say it's stage 0, it's early, but some carriers don't pay it out, which we'll kind of go through today. Some play around with this because typically the treatment cost of a carcinoma in situ is a quick surgery to get that removed.
Yeah.
And you won't need the $30,000 benefit for that. But Bankers gives you the flexibility to choose 25% coverage or 100% coverage. I will say I'm a huge advocate for every single time make it 100% coverage, because the thing you don't want to happen is a client comes to you and says, well, Sadie, I have cancer. It was a carcinoma in situ, so I need to go ahead and process my claim. And you turn around and say, okay, well, you thought you were getting $10,000. You're actually only going to get $2,500. Because then we're going to have an uncomfortable conversation.
Right.
Well, you just got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
Not fun. The difference in price doesn't make a huge, chunk difference, but again, it is something you can play with. So flexibility is key with Bankers, and which brings me to my next point, going into our riders, that Bankers has a ton of different riders. The most important, I'm going to slide you up to that top box over on the right, is the reoccurrence rider. Reoccurrence riders are key, I think, whenever you're looking at a cancer plan, because this is basically, if you got cancer once, you have a great chance of getting it again, unfortunately. Now, after 5 years, which is a typical look back period, you're kind of out of that realm of getting it again, or your chances go down significantly. However, then you're at a higher age, so your price is going to be cost. So let me backstep a little bit here. Let's say you sign up for the plan at 65. Cool. You didn't get cancer till you're 70. Now you have to wait 5 years to get on another plan. So now you're 75. Your rates are going to look a lot different than when you signed up when you were 65. So if you have a reoccurrence rider, it allows you to keep the plan going while you're going through different treatments. You keep paying the premium, but your benefit rebuilds over a course of time at that lower premium, which is the important part. So optional occurrence benefit rider, I say it's optional because it is a rider. However, that's the first thing you should slap on someone's plan. If they're nervous about getting cancer once, they should be worried about getting it twice.
Yes, for sure. I mean, this can also help. This could be the deciding factor whether or not people say yes to the cancer plan, because if they see, oh, it won't just cover for once, I don't have to worry about, or don't have to worry about as much getting cancer from now or like within the future, because I will have some sort of coverage most likely if it comes back later.
Yeah.
That can be a big deciding factor for someone whether or not they take it. So
for sure. And with cancer insurance products in general, they are very much of a preventative measure.
Yeah.
And it's hard to prevent round two. To get on a financial product or a health product like this for round 2.
Yeah.
It just gets a lot more difficult. You have to start playing around with that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be the same type? Same type of cancer? No. Doesn't have to be the same type to get that reoccurrence benefit on there again. Fantastic question, Tara. So second opinion writer is another one that I love. It's super cheap. Like, think about, we always talk about the ambulance writer for like a hospital indemnity plan. It's like a slam dunk. It's like $2.
Right.
I think when I ran through this, it was like 48 cents.
Oh.
So what is it? The second opinion writer is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to go get a second opinion. So you don't have to worry about, okay, well, that doctor's out of network. That bill might cost me another, $200-300 just to go see that person. What this second opinion writer does is give you $500 in addition to the benefit amount to go get another doctor to look at it.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone who has gone to a doctor and never gotten a second opinion on a cancer diagnosis.
Yeah.
You can trust your doctor all you want. I love my doctor. Shout out Dr. Bala. I love shouting him out, even though I know he's never seen one of these. But he took really good care of me here in Columbia. He said, this is kind of weird. Let me send you out to St. Louis, where I know there's a guy who's done more studies on this, and I actually learned under him. So I went to St. Louis out of network because I didn't care.
Right.
I was going to go get that coverage. And then we went to the Mayo Clinic for a third opinion, which is pretty typical. And for just 50-ish cents a day, or 50 cents a month, that is.
Yeah.
I said it like it was a one of those pet commercials.
Oh.
For 50 cents a day. Yeah. So the second opinion writer, very good plan to put on there. Gives people that comfortability of, especially like, let's say your Medicare Advantage folks, they've got their network. They know it's going to cost more to go out of that network. This quick plan can take care of that with just a little bit of money extra added on.
Yes, a huge thing with cancer insurance plans, again, we won't dive too deep into the why, but a big reason why they're so important is because whenever it comes to you or a loved one being diagnosed, you don't want to have to think about the money. You just want to be able to have the option to do. And adding little riders like this, sometimes I know from being like in the salesperson perspective, it can feel like, okay, but what about this? Okay, but what about this? Okay, what about this? But someone who has walked through, who's looking at this and might have walked through with a loved one, like a cancer diagnosis or something like that, these can be huge for them because they're like, oh my God, it's bringing up like, oh my gosh, yes, well, that's great. And it's only this much. They know how much it costs to have a cancer diagnosis, and they know all the little things that cost that add up to a lot. So these riders are so huge on cancer insurance plans because adding those on for not too much more can really make a difference in someone's journey on getting better. It can just allow them to say yes, let's fix this, yes, let's do this, without thinking about cost or worrying about the cost. You can just get better.
I love how you said that.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah. Like I've done this before.
But that's exactly true. And I think that is a big reason why I love diving into these products as someone who's gone through that journey.
Yeah.
I would say it's like, this is really important. And the next one I think is very important. However, it does come at a slightly higher cost than the other couple riders we've talked about, which is the cancer radiation and chemotherapy benefit. Basically what this does is turn it into some type of paper service type plan. Like they'll give you a dollar amount based on however many units you select for if you were to get radiation or when you get chemo. There's a few other things on there. Obviously, those are the two big ones. But this is also, again, in addition to your lump sum. So this would be more so to help take care of the medical side, while your lump sum could be your non-medical cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I liked it. It wasn't a crazy amount higher, but do know that that is kind of more of on the pricier end. And a lot of these plans have some really great riders. Bankers probably has like 10, 12 other ones that I could go over, and they're all really good. But the most important thing is to believe that these are the most important ones.
Yeah.
To understand the importance to your client by offering one of these riders and reoccurrence, second opinion, and to be able to get additional funds for radiation and chemo, to me, were the biggest importance. Okay, just reading a note from Kaylee.
Cool.
Okay, so the last thing is another rider, but it is kind of in its own category because, again, when we're talking about someone got a cancer diagnosis, You want them to know what they're going to get paid for that diagnosis. And skin cancer a lot of the times is something that's not covered by a cancer plan unless it's malignant melanoma. So like it's a very bad form of skin cancer. However, skin cancer is extremely common. My wife's actually a dermatology nurse. So a ton of her day is getting to scrape skin cancers off of people, as gross as that sounds. But it's very needed. A lot of people get them of all ages. And a skin cancer rider like this is another one that's not very expensive, but that way you can tell them, like, if you were to get skin cancer, this will take care of that. Typically, that's going to be another treatment that's not a terribly high cost, but you do want to get it removed.
Right.
And this will pay you somewhere between $250 and $1,000. And you can kind of play around with those numbers as well there.
Yeah, I think about, like, I'm from a rural farm town, and so I think about, I mean, basically every farmer I know just goes in every year, gets checked because they always had to get something removed from their ear there or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so
grandpa.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, no. So I'm thinking like farmers and people who are out in the sun all day, people who work in construction and stuff like that. That can be a huge thing for them too. Just that alone might spark and be like, oh, yep, that's something I need.
And
so
yeah, you got somebody that's like, let's run through that scenario super fast. Was you got a farmer who's not super worried about getting a cancer diagnosis, but they know every year they're going through this.
Yeah.
Look at that $5,000 benefit for the lump sum, slap that higher skin cancer rider on there, and they can get a plan for relatively fair price by only kind of focusing on, well, I want to be covered if I do get a type of cancer,
Yeah.
but I for sure want to be covered if I got skin cancer because I know I will.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely something to look at. Last couple things before we move on to the next one. I knew this one was going to take a little while longer because we're going to talk through the different why these things are important.
sure.
But underwriting wise, very simple underwriting. They do have a height and weight chart, but whenever I look at a height and weight chart, you might not be able to tell from this shot here, but I'm a little bit bigger of a guy myself. So I typically look at the height and weight chart and say, would I be accepted on a plan? And if I can be, I'm like, that's a very lenient plan. And if I can't be, I'm like, understand. So,
Come on.
So bankers would allow me on their plan. I like the height and weight chart. It wasn't too strict by any means. You can be very tall and very thin, or very short and very thin, and you're still going to get on a plan.
Yeah.
Which is a concern on some of these other plans. This one does have it, but it's not that big a deal. The other huge aspect is the look back period, which is like, okay, I had cancer 5 years ago. What plan can I get? Most of these carriers are going to have either a 5 or 10-year look back. Bankers lands on the 5-year look back. So I love that aspect.
Yeah.
And 5 years is kind of the benchmark. We've talked about it before of you're way less likely to get cancer diagnosis after year 5 or a reoccurrence after year 5. So that's what a lot of carriers use for their look back. Bankers on that 5-year mark, love it.
Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. If anybody has any more questions about bankers, we're just going to start flowing through the rest of them. But please feel free to ask any questions on there that you'd like.
2 quick notes. They have cool trips. Bankers has amazing trips all the time. I think they're going to Iceland this year for their trip.
Sweet.
It's a little late, obviously, for you get in there now,
Yeah.
but Bankers is known for doing some like wild, exotic kind of trips like this.
That's sweet. Based on how much cancer products you sell?
Cancer, like I think they counted cancer or ancillary products at like 300% of what they do a med sup.
Sick. Cool.
Got a med sup, hospital indemnity, and a cancer product all in the same contract. So pretty cool.
Sweet. Yeah. So from like your perspective as well, because you know you guys don't do this for free, it can be easy sometimes to add these just one question per appointment. Basically, sometimes can make the difference of whether or not you're going to Iceland.
Exactly.
So yeah. And we see that, by the way, we say that, but we actually see agents do this. Yeah, I just started selling cancer this year. I just added one question per appointment. Next thing I know, I'm going to the Bahamas. So
Exactly.
It happens. So yeah. Whoopsie, moving on.
Awesome. Okay, Aetna, a company you all know and love. Very similar style of product. I feel like these two were Aetna was made first, and bankers kind of looked at what is the next top product in the market. How can we make it competitive with them? So the issue ages is a little bit lower, 18 to 89 instead of 99. But again, not a huge difference there. I think that one's supposed to be 75.
Yep, it's supposed to be 75.
It's not a big deal. So 75,000 is going to be the highest benefit amount that you could get on there. However, it is also a lump sum plan too. So this one will pay out that lump sum when you get that cancer diagnosis. They honestly probably have the easiest of the claim forms to fill out, because there's a little bit you fill out, there's a little bit you hand to your doctor. They're familiar with that process. So I do love that, and I wanted to point that out with Aetna, that there's a super easy. They're all relatively easy. Aetna just was like, here's one paper.
Yeah, which is nice. Less paperwork is
exactly.
Yeah.
Benefit amounts are a little less customizable, with $5,000 being the amount that you can change it. And carcinoma in situ is paying 100%. They don't give the option, but again, I wouldn't give clients the option. Like, I would present that they do have this and highly suggest going with 100% with bankers, but Aetna does 100% on that. There's a little bit more of a simple plan. They don't have the crazy riders. They don't have all the different bells and whistles that might come with some of these other plans. This is strictly for, if I get a cancer diagnosis, what do we do now?
Right.
And it's pay your lump sum.
Yeah.
Let's get you taken care of. Let's go with that next step of your journey. I like that.
And even on like your side, if you're writing a lot of like Aetna Med Sups or something like that, this is just a really great, but you want to start offering cancer and you don't want to go through and look through all the, it's easy to add it whenever you're going through on the e-app and stuff like that.
Easy.
So sometimes people just choose, this might be a good option for you if you think it'll make your appointments a lot smoother, but you still want to offer some sort of cancer. Offering Aetna, that's a great reason too.
And they do have one of the easiest e-apps to use of all these. Going into a little bit more of their specifics, they don't have a skin cancer rider, which slightly unfortunate, but again, this one's a little bit more of a basic plan that will cover a lot more areas. Malignant melanoma, they will cover. So if it is a real bad skin cancer, they're still going to take care of it. Again, this is another company that has a 5-year look back, and they don't have a height and weight chart. So that kind of takes out another layer of difficulty to entry, or point of entry there. However, they have an amazing reoccurrence rider. It reoccurs slightly faster than bankers by like a year or so. So I do like that, of like this, you get your money back a little bit quicker of building that benefit back up. I won't go through the percentages here, but we've got them on the side there for you of how fast that is. Again, this is one that I would slap on every single plan that I'm writing with these. I think it adds $3 or $4 to the premium each month.
No-brainer.
This is a no-brainer. Let's see if there's anything else on Aetna that I wanted to discuss. Big brand name. Your clients are going to know and understand. You won't have to sell them on who Aetna is. Issue age is very wide. Keep your niche carriers if they need to have something over 89, but for the most part, this is going to take care of everyone that you're talking with. They do have a really nice benefit where Galen Hendricks calls it the spouse in the house discount, which is,
I like that, yeah.
So if you sign up as a husband and wife, you go by the younger of the two, where a lot of companies take the older of the two, and it's understandable because you're getting two people on the plan. And it gives you a slight discount by going with the younger of the two spouses.
Nice.
So very nice to look at for couples. They do have easy use e-app. They have paper applications. Please look at that e-app because it's super easy. And me and Sadie looked at it one day, ran through it together in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So love that.
So easy.
Good question here. What about underwriting with Aetna? Aetna's underwriting is crazy easy. I think there is 3 main questions and 2 spin-off questions. So there's about 5 questions on there. They're all really straightforward. It's basically your big stuff that you see on applications. So first and foremost was, did you have cancer within the last 5 years or received treatment, any kind of advice, that kind of thing. Then it goes into kind of the bigger ones like, do you have any AIDS, HIV, any kind of major diseases? That's another big question on there. And I'm trying to remember what the main third question is, and I think it was another big one like that. But again, very simple underwriting, no height and weight chart, short look back period. I honestly love how fast you can fly through this e-app, because it's, if you can answer no to these big questions, you move right on to the rest of the application.
Yeah. This is a really good question. Can Aetna reoccurrence rider be added to an existing policy?
So, Mike, I love that question. Happy to see you on here. I don't believe so. So I've looked at trying to get different add-ons thrown onto policies in effect. I will investigate that further because I'm curious, but my gut is telling me no.
I'll write it down because that's a good question.
He said, I only ask really good questions. That is very true.
Touche.
So I'll look into that some more. I'm about 90% certain that you cannot. They'd probably want you to take a new application, but let's look.
Yeah, let's look.
If we don't have anything else, we'll move right on to the next carrier.
Yeah.
Mutual of Omaha. So same issue ages, looking at 18 to 89, another lump sum payout. This one starts at a little bit higher. It's 10,000, but it goes up to 100,000. Again, 10,000 is kind of my point of entry where I'd like to look at, where I get my sample rates. So whenever agents are asking me about what it costs, I always say I ran a 65-year-old at about 10K, because that's typically the way I want to start off with.
Yeah.
Increments of 1,000, so is customizable past that point. Here's where it gets kind of a difficult, like as I said, I wanted to highlight pros, but I did also want to highlight some cons here. Mutual of Omaha doesn't cover on carcinoma in situ. So that would be where you have that conversation of there is some things that wouldn't be covered with this, some lower cost cancer treatments like a removal of a stage 0 type cancer would not be covered with this plan. So that is something you want to make sure your clients are aware of so they don't feel duped if that moment ever did come up. But by not putting that on the plan, Mutual was able to make their plan a little bit cheaper. I'll touch on that in 2 seconds because I want to say another con is that 10-year look back period. So it is a little bit harder to get on because you do have to have 10-year clean bill of health. However, by doing those two things, Mutual was able to price their product at a much cheaper rate than a few of these other carriers. So that is the difference. My friend here, Gio, he used to sell Mutual of Omaha's cancer plan. It was one of the cheaper on the market, good brand name, and was a really straightforward lump sum plan.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of riders with it. I'll go over a couple here, but a lot of low point of entry. It's very easy to convince someone that they need cancer insurance. The obvious needs are there. Then you can tell them, like, I can get you on a price point that will fit your budget. Mutual of Omaha allows you to get that down pretty low. They don't have a height and weight chart unless you want to add on the heart attack and stroke option, which is a big thing. A lot of people like to have that option. Mutual's got that on there. Then looking at their different riders that they do have available. So this cash value benefit rider basically gives you a larger increase of your funds that are available. So that money can build up. I would suggest that if you're looking at adding something like that on, look at what the price point would be of if you want to have that money build. Instead of doing that, just start off with where you want that to end. You want to end up at 30K? Go ahead and quote a 30K. See what the difference is between a 10K plan and a 30K plan.
Yeah.
Because you never know when that diagnosis is going to hit. So you want to be able to make sure, like, well, if you got this in year 2 and you want 30K, let's get you 30K in year 2 instead of having to let it build over time.
Yeah.
It also has a different point of entry as far as age goes. You do have to put them on that kind of plan prior to 60. The intensive care unit rider is exactly what it sounds like. And as unfortunate it is, you know, with a cancer diagnosis, sometimes the treatment that you're going through can land you in the ICU. You know, complications with chemotherapy, complications with meds, a lot of stuff can come up that could land you in the ICU. And that's just more additional medical costs that you weren't planning on. You might max out your MOOP with some of these scans pretty fast, but if you didn't already do that and you land in an intensive care unit, you're going to hit that pretty quickly. So
yeah,
another one that has a different point of entry, the 18 to 64, to get on that. And then the last thing I'll say about it is there is no skin cancer rider on this plan either. Malignant melanoma is the one that covers. So know those few things throughout the different products going forward of which ones we're looking at. You'll see that kind of running theme of ones we like. No reoccurrence rider. Again, what this plan is, I feel like is the easiest point of entry to get into a cancer insurance plan.
for sure.
Very straightforward, low cost, Mutual Omaha is a great company.
Yeah.
Can't say much more about them.
A lot of people that we know that are writing Mutual of Omaha cancer products over other cancer products are because they're just selling a lot of Mutual of Omaha med subs as it is. So they're just tacking it on. And because it is so easy to work with, it casts a pretty wide net, even with that 10-year look back. So really great product, definitely one of the more simple ones. And they're also another brand that if you sell enough, you get to go on a trip.
Exactly.
So yeah, exactly. So we do see a lot of people write this, but not, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, thousands of people, but we do see people write this because it's so easy to work with, and they're already writing a lot of Moo. So
exactly. Very easy to use, paper, e-app, either way you go. So love them. I will say too, on the commission ends, I know we're not going to get into numbers on it. However, they do pay out a lifetime on the policy.
Nice.
Some of them stop or lower that percentage down really far after a few years. Mutual continues to pay out the life of the policy.
Yeah. So maybe if you're wanting to dip your feet into something kind of easy into cancer products, this might be a good one for, you know, you dip. So
what we got next?
We got
GTL. Okay. First thing I'm going to say is I love GTL, and they have two different products to choose from. So we're going to go over both.
Yes.
Precision Care is their updated plan that kind of was brand new to the market, kind of coming in with something different. You've noticed a lot of similarities in the other plans. They'll continue here, but I think it's down at the bottom, so I'm not going to jump to that yet. But they have some cool things that nobody else has. So 18 to 90 for the age group. What are you giggling at?
I was just giggling me. Where it's just like, and we'll talk about it soon.
Oh, teaser.
You just, yeah, a little teaser.
18 to 90, another wide age range. Like, again, I'd say 89 is pretty good mark. If you can get at least that high, you're fine with no matter who you're coming across.
Sure.
But know that a 90-year-old client, that's going to be the last you can write on there. Another lump sum payout. They're very customizable, all the way down to $2,500 to $75,000. So I love that because it's a very low point of entry to get some of these cool things. Again, I'm going to tease it later.
Yeah, right.
But low point of entry to get on a plan at a very cheap rate by getting a $2,500 plan. And it's definitely not something to turn your nose up to, like, well, it's only $2,500. Okay, like, but if your plan only cost you $15, $20, how long does that take to hit that? I'm not great at math, but it takes a few years.
Yeah.
And 1 in 3 chance of getting cancer in your lifetime. Kind of, yeah, you'd probably make that bet, right, for $2,500.
Yeah.
Unfortunate as it sounds.
Yeah, and $2,500. I mean, again, we're talking with cancer plans, that's helping pay for food, for travel, for hotels, for all that extra stuff. So, you know, $2,500 might not sound like a lot, but whenever you're going through it, the difference between this is, you know, getting good quality meals, getting good quality night's sleep and stuff like that. So $2,500 is still $2,500 whenever you need it most.
And without getting into story time, I went to the Mayo Clinic with my family. Everybody went, so we got a big Airbnb. We stayed there for a week as a family. $2,500 would have covered, you know, majority of that cost, if not all of just the cost of just that one portion.
Yes, exactly.
So I would have gladly taken another $2,500.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So next thing, a little bit of a con would be the 25% carcinoma in situ. Again, I think this helps the actuarials and the people who decide the prices keep it a little bit more competitive,
right,
by not paying out a $75,000 payout for carcinoma in situ.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's not going to cost you $75,000 to get that fixed. Some cool stuff. These are the couple things I want to talk about of that other people don't have built into their plan is the experimental treatment. They'll pay an additional 25%. So pick your dollar amount benefit, and they'll give you an additional 25% of that if you got an experimental treatment. So that experimental treatment obviously has to be approved and go through any kind of health FDA rules, whatever those rules are, to get onto approved experimental treatment.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of carriers don't even have that option.
That's
and it pulls out of your benefit amount if you want to try it.
Yes.
This is additional money.
Yes. And I mean, I think we all know someone that's gone through cancer, and basically just about all of them that's something that they talk about, at least in my life,
Yep.
is, this is plan B. What if we have to get to plan B or something like that? And again, cancer plans are just there so that way they can have peace of mind and just say yes to.
Yep.
So that is something that I think is huge and was really exciting whenever that came out with this plan, whenever we saw that as an addition, because that's just another thing that they can rest, sleep better at night,
Yeah.
knowing that they have some sort of coverage if they need to go that route.
I struggle not to do story time, but we had plan A, plan B, and plan C.
Mm-hmm.
We went with plan A, thank goodness. Plan B was not great. Plan C was, let's try something experimental.
Yeah.
So having that additional funds would definitely be beneficial, just to say, yes, please fix me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
The other super cool thing here is genetic testing. No one else on the market has this currently that I'm aware of, and I would love to know if anyone else does.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our friend Dimitri over at GTL would love to hear who else copied his idea.
Yeah.
Which is this T-gen testing. So it's at no additional cost and could have a huge impact on preventative measures if they were to have something that showed up in their DNA sequencing that would show a higher risk of cancer. Or once they do get a cancer diagnosis, T-gen testing can show them a different path. Not everybody has the same type of diagnosis, even if you have the exact same type of cancer. So Dimitri explained it to me by saying, I have a thumbprint and you have a thumbprint. So we have the same thumbprint, right?
Mm.
Exactly. So we can have
I was
this.
like,
Yeah,
no.
So we can have the same thumbprint, or we have both have thumbprints, but they're not the same, and they're going to be treated differently and looked at differently.
Yeah.
And T-gen testing goes down to the DNA level to figure out what they could do to either help prevent you to get cancer or possibly drastically change your diagnosis or your treatment plan, because they can hone in and say, based off your DNA, we need to try this.
Yeah.
It's like no one else offers that. This is kind of what I refer to as our Cadillac of cancer insurance plans.
Yeah.
Because it is a little higher price point, but they do get these different options. So something that I've heard suggested was looking at getting a $2,500 precision care plan, get that low point of entry, get the T-gen testing, and then we'll look at GTL's other plan to get a more lump sum payout that could be a higher amount.
Love that.
Essentially have two different plans, but you get a lot of different benefits by doing that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it goes without saying necessarily, but genetic testing is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So having that at no cost on top of the rest of the benefits that you get is really cool.
Great question again, Mike. Love to see these. They do not have a reoccurrence rider on this plan. This one doesn't have it. You'll see it on the next one.
Mm-hmm. On the next GTL plan.
On the next GTL plan, yep. So the riders that they do offer a skincare rider. It's a $500 benefit, and it's payable 3 times throughout the lifetime of the plan. There's another rider that's not crazy expensive, and $500 for 3 different occurrences, according to my wife, would definitely pay for more than like 6.
Oh.
Based off what she sees through her insurance coming in.
Yeah.
Most of the time, those removals aren't going to cost you $500, but could definitely help get you there, help get it removed, and then feel good and go get a good lunch after you got skin
get some ice cream.
Yeah. So definitely something to consider, especially for your folks with your rural farmers, your people down south that are the
out in the sun.
Yeah, out in the sun all the day.
Yeah.
Definitely look at that rider with them. Another one is the benefit builder. It's again another policy that you can start to increase your benefit amount over a course of time. Again, I personally would look at just what does it cost to land at that level for the reasons we already talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But there is an option, and it could cost them a little bit, like if they can't afford to get the cheap or the higher amount and they really want it over time, this is the way to look at that.
Yeah.
It's just kind of jumbling their money. So it's something you'd have to look at with them and see if it'd be a benefit to them or not. Mm-hmm. Another really cool option here is the child rider. So this gives your kids some kind of coverage as well on this plan. Not a crazy expensive rider, covers from ages 0 to 18 as an entry point, but the coverage does end when they turn 25, which sounds like a negative, but it gives you a great chance to then look at, okay, you signed up the kid. Now you've got another client, another prospect of when that kid turns 25. You know how cheap a cancer plan is when you're 25 years old? It's insanely low. you can get one. I've looked at plans that were like 10, 15 bucks a month.
Yeah.
And if somebody understands that and has that history of cancer in their family and they got a plan and then they got one of their kids are going to understand that by the time they're 25 years old.
Right. Yeah.
And for 10, 15 bucks a month, most people can, end up working that into their budget somehow.
Yeah.
The other option here is a return of premium rider. This can be something where if you didn't get cancer by a certain age, forgive me for not remembering the exact age, I want to say it's somewhere in your 80s, but you can return the premium that you've paid into that plan. Basically kind of gives you the option. However, it is a little bit more of an expensive setup. So the return of premium, let's see here. Oh, totally fine. So the return of premium rider just kind of gives you some more options to look at of different ways to help the client feel like they're getting the most out of this plan. Again, no reoccurrence on this one, but I think we can just slide right over to the next GTL guy. Every time I push it, something happens.
Gotta have the magic touch.
So with GTL's plan, no reoccurrence on that. This one does. So this is their older style plan. It's the cancer, heart attack, and stroke options. So they do have a little bit more flexibility on your diagnosis, what happened with you. But looking at this as a standalone lump sum style plan for cancer insurance is my main focus. 18 to 90, that's going to pay out the same. Same benefit amounts, lump sum, same coverage on carcinoma in situ, and same coverage on experimental treatment. The only thing this one drops that is a base coverage of the other one is that genetic testing, which is something that this is a little bit cheaper of a plan, more in the realm of Mutual of Omaha. So looking at pairing that with another test, or that precision care, if they wanted TGen, is an option.
Yeah.
Very similar riders. The benefit builder return of premium is on here as well, along with the skin care or skin cancer rider. This one does have a really quick reoccurrence rider though. This is probably tops of the market.
Yeah.
A little bit before its time almost.
Yeah.
Where they're going to start giving you coverage in year one.
Yeah.
Most won't even give you 8% back until year 2.
Yes.
Year 1, you're getting 10%. So if you were to get another form of cancer or your cancer came back after a year, 10%. Mm-hmm. And then by year 5 and after year 5, you're back on having a full on plan again. Mm-hmm. Huge, huge plus.
Yeah, that is a huge plus.
We've talked about that already, but start at 65, don't get cancer till you're 70. Then you have to wait 5 years. Now with this one, you get that reoccurrence and you get it quickly.
This plan might look really good to someone who had cancer in the past, and they are a little bit worried about it coming back because maybe they'd rather pay for the reoccurrence rider versus having the genetic testing if they've already been through it, already kind of know some sort of like game plan or they know the process of all that sort of stuff. Genetic testing might not be something that they care about as much, but that reoccurrence rider might look really shiny. So yeah, just an example of how you just kind of can fit different plans for different people. And yeah.
Also, I will mention, I think I said this, but 5-year look back. So really nice point of entry there. They do have a height and weight chart. It's not crazy, but it's not as flexible as Bankers. Mm-hmm. That's all I'll say about their height and weight chart. They do have that on the precision care too. I don't know if I said that, but height and weight chart for both of those. What I love about the option of GTL is, as we all know, GTL is a giant in the ancillary or complementary market. Mm-hmm. So they have a ton of different options as far as a hospital indemnity plan, home health care plan, all that built in to the same contract that you'd get a cancer plan with. So if you've ever sold GTL's hospital indemnity, which if you haven't, go for it. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. But that's a video for another day. Yeah. But then you know that portal, you know that process. Their e-app is simple and gives you live updates whenever you're clicking through and adding additional riders or looking at changing benefit amounts. You can see exactly what that costs. Very easy to sit on the same side of the table, show the client what you're looking at and say, okay, that costs this. Do you want to change that? And play around with it them to make sure at the end you're fitting their budget.
Yes.
Which again is going to be the most important thing with all this, something better than nothing.
Yes.
GTL is great.
We do have a really good question here. If a person has a med sup, what medical procedures and treatments aren't paid for to need a cancer plan? This is a really good question. This is something that we cover a whole lot and didn't want to hit on today as much just because we've talked about it a lot and this is more technical, but that's a really solid question. I mean, I'll let you kind of speak. You lived it, so it's a little bit different, but it's going to, cancer products are there to help give more money to you in a time that your pockets are being drained. A lot of the costs that come with cancer diagnosis isn't just the medical stuff, it's all of the extra stuff that happens to you that people don't think about. So like we've talked about, the Airbnbs, the travel, the hotel stays, the food, the wigs, buying new wardrobe if you lose a lot of weight on chemo. Some prescriptions, some medicines are only covered up to a certain point, but you need them long after, like nausea medicine that's only covered up to like 2 hours past your treatment or something like that. So it gives you extra money for that. And I mean, yeah.
So think about it this way too. So the out of non-medical cost. Ooh, that was a struggle to say. Let me start again. The non-medical costs that go along with that is about 60-ish%.
Yeah.
You still have 40% that you're going to pay for. So your med sup is going to pick up a ton of that. However, think about your Part B deductible that you're paying, unless you're on Plan F, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to pay that Part B deductible because you'll fill all of that really quick. And then on top of that, any kind of experimental, and like Sadie touched on, the prescription drugs with these, the average cost of a oral chemo medicine is $10,000. That's with a prescription drug plan.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Right.
No matter where you are financially, 10 grand is 10 grand. And that's just for a round of your medicine. You might be looking at 2, 3, 5 rounds of a chemo pill. I went through 3 cycles of my drug that was supposed to cost $10K. Shout out to being under 65 and getting a grant that I only paid $500 for my cycles. But still, the point of that is that these drugs are very expensive and you don't know what type of cancer that you're going to get.
And that is a really good point. Like you said, you were under 65, so you were able to, a lot of times having Medicare or being Medicare eligible knocks you out of the running for different types of grants and stuff like that. So this is just giving you more money where you might not be able to have it otherwise. So
this helps a lot with the non-medical costs, but there is medical costs that go along with it with the med sub client as well. Think about how much they're going to be paying on the additional to those things every single month. And they're going to want to make sure they pay those premiums for their med sup every single month, because at that time they cannot lose that coverage.
That's a very good point too.
So while you're having to pay all these other bills, because as we know, medical bills and hospitals, they'll work with you on your payment plans and going through that. Airbnbs don't. Different places that you need to buy food from, they won't care.
Right.
They don't have that same kind of luxury to go back and forth with where the medical bills do, and you want to make sure you're keeping that coverage. So even that $10,000 payout that you're getting, you could say, cool, $10,000, I've got that. That will make sure that my medical bills are covered. That means my med sup is paid for the foreseeable future. Great. Now I have the rest of this money, this pool of money to spend on the non-medical stuff.
Yes.
So think of it as helping out with their premium as well, because they're going to have 60% of the other costs as non-medical.
Yes, exactly.
That was a lot longer than I thought I was explaining.
It was a lot longer, but I mean, that is one thing that's why we're so passionate about it here in at Senior Marketing Specialist, because we really see such a huge need. And sometimes I think cancer insurance can kind of be like, yeah, there's a need for it, but it's kind of the side, and we're trying to make people a lot more aware of like, no, this actually can be life-saving. These kind of plans can be the difference between someone deciding to go through treatment and just kind of riding it out, because we've seen that. And so or the difference between how well their family's taken care of, what treatments they decide to do, all that sort of stuff. So it's a really solid question. We have lots of resources on that. But yeah.
And more to come.
And more to come.
Mike asked, do they have a good client-facing brochure? All these companies have fantastic client-facing brochures that explain risk factors, explain just some general statistics. So when you pick out which carriers you want to work with, definitely get a lot of these brochures.
For sure.
We can help you order those. We can get you links so you can print them, whatever you want. But these are very good to sit down with the client and kind of go through well, this is why I wanted to offer you this.
Yeah.
It's got these different benefits on there.
You can essentially sell it off the brochure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They won't go into crazy detail like the
Right.
outline of coverage would on what these riders are, but that's what you pick up on a handful of the riders that you like and know where they are in the brochure, and you can point right to this and be like, I love this reoccurrence rider. I want to make sure that you get this so you're covered if you ever got cancer again.
Yes.
So love those.
Yes.
That's all I got for GTL.
We have one last one here. We know we're running a little bit long, but one last carrier to talk about here today.
And that would be our friends over at Cigna. Cigna is another big brand name that everybody knows. So that pulls a lot of weight on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's also got the high age range, so 18 to 99. They do have the lump sum payout. However, I wanted to put it on here for our folks that really like a paper service plan or believe in that over a lump sum. Cigna does have a very solid paper service plan. I go into, again, more of just the lump sum options. If you like paper service, let me know. Tell me why I'm wrong and show me where we can kind of work together on this, because I love Cigna's if you are going that route.
Yeah.
Benefit amounts, pretty standard, the 5,000 to 7,500 or 75,000, and 100% coverage on carcinoma in situ. The look back period, again, we're looking at just a 5-year look back, so easy point of entry, and no height and weight chart unless you're wanting that cancer, heart attack, and stroke. Quickly, I'll talk about their price point. It is a little higher than an Aetna or a Bankers. However, again, you're not selling this based off of just the price. You're selling it on, I believe in this company. I believe that this is a needed product for you. And $3 to $4 shouldn't necessarily make the difference. But that's why I like to talk about all the different options of shifting these plans around,
Mm-hmm.
because you could get to that price point with a couple carriers. And if Cigna's the carrier that you know and love, like to work with on their med sup side, you're going to know enough about their product to be able to offer that going forward. Real quick here, we got, is there a side-by-side grid comparing cancer plans? I do have something built that we use internal. So Howard, I'll make sure that I holler at you and we can look at that together, because basically the same information I have put together in a big spreadsheet full of colors because I can't resist. But I do have that. We can show that with you together there. It's just, again, a lot of this data here. So reoccurrence rider, it's going to be more on the banker side of 10 years. You'll get 100% of that back. Won't break down the percentages since they're right there for you guys. Heart attack and stroke is a big one that I know Cigna believes in a lot, as making sure that you're covered for cancer, heart attack, or stroke. Heart attack and stroke is another big cause of financial devastation, mm-hmm. because stuff stops. You don't just instantly return back to everything being normal after a heart attack or a stroke. So having that additional option, I know a lot of agents like to see that.
Yeah.
A lot of the older plans too were cancer, heart attack, and stroke.
Right.
More people started separating the cancer to kind of make it a more affordable style product, or had to be a rider. The radiation and chemotherapy, again, this kind of turns that lump sum plan into having an aspect of a paper service, getting some additional funds based off of the treatment plan that you're prescribed. Mm-hmm. And then return a premium, very similar, gives you an option to get some of that premium that you paid in back.
Yeah.
Other things about Cigna, very easy e-app. They have some great commissions as well, and something that they pay out lifetime, similar to Mutual of Omaha.
Yeah.
But brand name sells Cigna. It's a good product. Different options that they have on there. So love this one as well. Like I said, we highlighted 5 today. I would honestly not want you to look at all 5 of these and say, I want to offer all 5 of these, Clayton.
All of them.
And I would say, I love that you're enthusiastic and want to work with cancer plans. However, let's dial that back a bit and let's pick a couple based off these different niches that these carriers have.
Yeah.
So.
And we can help you. If you call Senior Marketing Specialist, we are able to talk through that stuff with you and kind of figure out what would be best for you to offer to your clients. So.
Yep. This last slide here, we've kind of talked about these things throughout, but now you kind of maybe have a better idea of, I knew why. Now I know kind of who I'm leaning towards. Just some things to remember while you're offering cancer plans, and then we'll get you out of here, is the question of how much coverage should I offer? Work with the client's budget. Look at you kind of get a feel for what they're talking about, either premium wise, or just their financial aspects of things that go into this decision. Start with 10K, play around with there. If 10K is too high, look at dropping it down. If they're worried about having a large amount, go up. Give them a couple rates to compare.
Yeah.
But I will never say get them a $30,000 policy. Nothing less will help, because something's better than nothing.
Right.
And to remember, while you're offering these different ancillary products, especially cancer insurance, it's very important, and typically only adds about 5 or 10 minutes onto your appointment.
Mm-hmm.
The lump sum plans are easy to explain. You pay this dollars, you get this amount if you ever got a cancer diagnosis. And again, show them the gaps in the coverage that they have currently.
Yeah.
There's faults in a MedSup, and just like there's faults in a Medicare Advantage plan. And how does that work with cancer diagnosis? Go over that with them. It's one of the key areas that's missed by Medicare is the coverage in the prescription drugs, all the non-medical or the non-medical stuff, because Medicare is not for just your life, it's for your health.
Right.
And that kind of is that next point of explain the non-medical costs. Sadie brought up a really good one that I don't point out enough, which is the wigs are not covered by Medicare.
Yeah.
The clothing not covered by Medicare. You could either go one of two ways. With a chemo treatment, you could lose a ton of weight, have to get a whole new wardrobe. Or some of these medications that you take, they also prescribe you a steroid, which, as a lot of us know, can make you go the other way.
Mm-hmm.
And you might need a new wardrobe. That's where I ran into.
Yep.
Was needed more wardrobe because you put on a little extra weight while you're going through this treatment. So those are things to consider. And then last thing here is just looking at the different bundles. So a MedSup plus a cancer plan. How could that benefit you? What could we get that would make it work for you? MA plan. Typically, I want to say stay away from a rider on there, just because clients sometimes will cancel that thinking that they were only canceling a HIP plan, not their cancer plan.
Mm-hmm.
So if you explain that right, totally fine with that approach, because it's very easy, it's simple on there, and they know they have hospital and cancer through the same carrier.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of pluses on a hospital indemnity plan. That's on the scope of appointment. So that's going to be a compliant way to talk about cancer insurance during that appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And just the MA plus a standalone cancer, that's going to have to typically be done in a follow-up appointment. So that is something that you have to kind of look into while you're choosing when you're going to offer it.
Mm-hmm. But another good excuse to be able to, after AEP, be able to get them back in your office and be able to follow up and all that sort of stuff. It's a really good option to say, hey, yeah, and I'll see you back and we'll talk about cancer then. So,
yep. Any of these plans offered as a group plan with less underwriting? I don't know about the less underwriting part. I know not these plans, but Manhattan Life seems like, I think they have 4 different cancer plans. So another solid company there, because you got a ton of different options. It's just a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do believe one of the options is a group plan. Just that not being our space, I don't know a ton about that, just to be completely transparent with you all.
Yeah. Oh, good question.
We can figure it out. I can show you.
Yeah. Awesome, you guys. So we made it through. We know that this was a little bit more of a beast of a webinar. We knew that it would be, but we offered or gave you lots of different options here, kind of showed you the ropes on all of them. Hopefully this makes you a little bit more confident, and maybe you know the why, but you want to get started. Anything that we talked about here today, the conversation doesn't have to stop here. If you want more questions, if you want us to repeat this, whatever, please call Senior Marketing Specialist or wait for our follow-up call. We want to be able to talk this out with you, want to be able to brainstorm what would be best for your portfolio, what would be best for the clients that you see. We can help you out with that. So please feel free to call us. Let's see.
I see another comment about group plans. Let me do some more research on that.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's not my area expertise, but I know a lot of you want to offer cancer plans and that you work with other demographics, and group being a big one of that. So shame on me for not knowing enough about those. I'll figure it out and I will get back with both of you.
Yeah, Awesome questions. You guys asked really excellent questions here today. But do you have anything else? Please put your lingering questions in here. Otherwise, we will wrap this up. If you want more cancer product, we have some knowledge and training and stuff like that. You can go to sms-university.com. Our university page has lots of different things over lots of things, all the things, but we have a cancer page there that you can go and look at some of the products that we talked about here today. We're going to be adding more and more resources as far as cancer insurance goes from senior marketing specialists. So be looking out for that stuff.
Be looking out for it. There's a lot of exciting stuff that we've been working on behind the scenes to get more out there to assist you all in taking care of more people with through cancer insurance.
Absolutely. Alrighty, well, thank you so much. Thanks for the great feedback as well. Like we said, this recording will be in the follow-up email as well as on our YouTube page. And we'll go ahead and send out the deck of slides as well. We had a couple people ask about that, but because this was so information heavy, we'll throw those slides in there so that we can go back and look at them. But yeah, if nobody else has any other questions, we will let you guys get back to your day. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you all.